Welcome to the Liberty Reports training series. In today's video, we will be discussing the DBSum function included with the Liberty Reports software. The DBSum function for Liberty Reports is designed to return the sum of the values from a column in a table. The rows that are compared can then be limited by applying a filter. In our example today, we'll be starting with a driving query that pulls a list of AP vendors. We'll then add a DBSum function for each row to provide a total amount of all invoices for each AP vendor. The easiest way to use one of the Liberty Reports functions is to select the cell in which you wish the returned value to be displayed, then select the Function Wizard button located in the Liberty Reports ribbon. Doing so brings up a list of the most commonly used Liberty Reports functions. If we select a specific function, like sum, we are presented with a description of the purpose of the function, as well as the proper syntax of how the formula will appear upon completion of the wizard. Once we have selected the DBSum function, we can click Next. We're now presented with a list of the available database tables for our existing connection. In this example, we are connecting to a Sage 100 contractor database, and since we are wanting to get an invoice total for each AP vendor, we'll select AP Invoice and click Next. We're then presented with a list of available columns, from which we will select Invoice Total and click Next. Now we're prompted to create conditions that we can use to filter our result based on the information provided by our driving query. Once we click Add Condition, we can filter the results based on the vendor ID provided. To do so, we'll select Vendor from our column list, select the equal comparison operator, and for the Compare to Value type, we could use a literal value and select a valid option using the Value drop-down menu. We could use the database field value type and select a desired column name, but for this example, it will be best to use a cell reference. In this manner, we can use the same function for each row. Now that we've selected cell reference as our value type, we'll use the Cell Selector tool to select the first vendor ID listed in our driving query and click OK. Now that our condition has been added, we can click Next. This brings us to the final stage of the function wizard. Here we're provided options for the column layout, namely, should the columns display left to right or top to bottom, whether or not to include column captions, which will also insert the column name along with your function results, and the option to fill the formulas down should the function be inserted adjacent to an existing query or function. Since we are only returning one value in our example, we'll leave the layout set to left to right, and we don't need to include the column captions, so we will leave that option off. And since we do want this function to populate for the entire query, we will leave the option to fill down formulas selected. Once we are done with our changes and we click Finish, we're then presented with the invoice total for each vendor in our query. Notice that since we left the Fill Down Formulas option selected, the resulting function has automatically populated for each query result. Were we to refresh the query and a different result set was returned, our adjacent function would automatically update with the new results. This concludes this segment of the Liberty Reports training series on the DBSum function. Thanks for watching. We hope you found the information useful.